Fresh spices from the east, best quality.
Finest silks and fabrics here. Step right this way.
If we turn left here, we can avoid the market crowd.
That is a good idea. It gets very busy this time of day.
Shall we stop for tea soon?
Look at these spices, madam. The finest quality.
I will give you a good price if you buy today.
That is too much. I'll pay half.
Welcome to History in the Shadows, where we uncover the forgotten stories that shaped our world. If you're passionate about understanding the rise and fall of great empires, the complex forces that reshape nations, and the human stories behind historical transformations, then you've found your home. Today, we're exploring one of history's most dramatic collapses, the fall of the Ottoman Empire. For over 6 centuries, the Ottomans ruled one of the world's most powerful and diverse empires, stretching across 3 continents. But by the early 20th century, this mighty empire had crumbled, leaving a legacy that still shapes the Middle East today. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss our historical deep dives. If you're on Facebook, follow our page and share this video with anyone who loves history. Let's journey back to the final decades of an empire that once ruled the world. A vast imperial legacy in the late Ottoman Empire era, we see a wide map-style view of the eastern Mediterranean region. Vast imperial territory is highlighted, stretching from the Balkans in Europe, across Anatolia, down through the Arab lands to the Arabian Peninsula, and across North Africa. This was an empire that once struck fear into the heart of Christian Europe, that besieged Vienna twice, that controlled the holy cities of Mecca and Medina, and that served as the bridge between East and West. In bustling Ottoman city streets, mosques with their minarets stand alongside Christian churches and Jewish synagogues. Markets buzz with activity, filled with diverse communities trading, talking, living side by side. This was the remarkable characteristic of Ottoman rule, a multi-religious, multi-ethnic empire that, for centuries, managed to hold together vastly different peoples under a single imperial system. Close views show different religious groups walking side by side through the streets, Muslims, Christians, Jews, each maintaining their distinct identities while participating in the same urban space. This tolerance and diversity, while imperfect and often hierarchical, was genuinely remarkable for its time. The Ottoman millet system allowed religious communities significant autonomy in managing their own affairs. In multilingual marketplaces, signs and conversations flow in Turkish, Arabic, Greek, Armenian, Ladino, and countless other languages. Traders conduct business across linguistic and religious lines. This was a cosmopolitan empire, a meeting point of civilizations where ideas, goods, and people flowed across vast distances. Wide city panoramas reveal this coexistence of cultures. The architectural styles blend Ottoman, Byzantine, and local traditions. Minarets and church bells share the same skyline. This visual representation of diversity was the Ottoman Empire's greatest strength, but also, as we shall see, the source of its greatest challenges. The empire under pressure, but by the late 19th century, this empire was struggling. Military movements toward European borders show Ottoman soldiers marching, but these are no longer the feared janissaries of old conquering new territories. These are defensive movements, attempts to hold on to what remains. From distant views, we see smaller European states that once feared Ottoman pressure now watching with growing confidence. European diplomats observed the Ottoman weakness with calculating eyes. The balance of power has shifted dramatically. Symbolic scenes show this power shift clearly. European influence is growing while the Ottoman Empire strains under internal and external pressures. The empire that once threatened Europe is now being threatened by it, carved up in diplomatic negotiations, exploited economically, and undermined politically. In 19th century government chambers, Ottoman officials debate reforms urgently. How can the empire survive in this new world of nationalism, industrialization, and European imperialism? The old ways no longer work, but what should replace them? Attempts at unity text-style concept scenes represent Osmanlilik or Ottomanism, the idea that all subjects of the empire, regardless of religion or ethnicity, could be united as Ottoman citizens with equal rights and responsibilities. This was a revolutionary concept, an attempt to transform a traditional Islamic empire into a modern multinational state. Symbolic pan-Islamism scenes show Muslims across different regions united in prayer, representing another strategy, emphasizing the Islamic identity of the empire to create unity among its Muslim subjects and gain support from Muslims worldwide against European Christian imperialism. But neither strategy would ultimately succeed. In 1922, in a parliamentary hall scene, the Ottoman Empire itself is formally abolished. Lawmakers witness the end of over 600 years of imperial rule. The Ottoman dynasty, which had ruled since 1299, comes to an end. The sick man of Europe, European diplomats gather around maps discussing what they called the Eastern Question, essentially, what should happen to Ottoman territories as the empire weakened. Should they be divided among European powers? Should they become independent? How could stability be maintained? The Ottoman Empire is depicted in European political cartoons and diplomatic language as the sick man of Europe, a declining power whose territories are being eyed hungrily by stronger neighbors. This imagery of weakness becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy as European powers increasingly interfere in Ottoman affairs. Yet within the empire, intellectual debates rage among reformers discussing the future. Should the empire modernize along European lines? Should it emphasize its Islamic character? Can traditional Ottoman governance be reformed to meet modern challenges? These thinkers are desperately seeking solutions to save their civilization. The Tanzimat Reforms. The Tanzimat Reform era begins with official announcements. Citizens observe as new legal codes are proclaimed, promising equality before the law for all subjects regardless of religion, guaranteed property rights, and reformed taxation. These are revolutionary changes for a traditional Islamic empire. In symbolic scenes showing Transjordan administrative development in the town of Salt, Ottoman officials establish greater control over previously autonomous regions. The empire is attempting to centralize, to create a more unified state apparatus. WOC-supported institutions, Islamic charitable endowments, fund the construction of mosques and schools. The community benefits from these traditional Islamic institutions even as the state modernizes. This represents the tension between tradition and reform. The Young Turks emerge from secret meetings, students and military officers planning more radical reforms. These activists meet in rented rooms, in coffee houses, in military academies, plotting the transformation of the empire. In 1876, a constitution is introduced in an imperial setting. Statesmen gather to witness what seems like a historic moment, the Ottoman Empire becoming a constitutional monarchy with an elected parliament. Hope fills the air. Abdülhamid II's autocracy. A portrait-style scene shows Sultan Abdülhamid II centered in the frame, dignified and authoritative. This sultan would dominate the empire's politics for over 3 decades, and his reign would see both modernization and repression. Post-war chaos follows the disastrous Russo-Ottoman War of 1877–78, which saw the empire lose vast territories in the Balkans and the Caucasus. Ottoman officials are strained, the treasury empty, the army defeated. Abdülhamid II responds by suspending the constitution and dissolving parliament. Authority is asserted absolutely. The brief experiment with constitutional government is over. Diplomatic concession scenes show British and French officials negotiating borders, taking control of Ottoman territories, dictating terms. Egypt falls under British control, Tunisia becomes a French protectorate, Cyprus is leased to Britain. The empire is being carved up piece by piece. Yet Abdülhamid is not passive. He expands a loyal bureaucracy, placing his trusted administrators throughout the empire to strengthen central control and monitor potential opposition. In Transjordan, the town of Salt develops as an administrative center. The local population becomes more integrated into the Ottoman state structure, paying taxes, serving in the army, participating in the imperial system. Islamic revival and modernization. Islamic identity is emphasized through state-supported Qur'an printing and distribution. Officials promote a vision of Ottoman identity rooted in Islamic heritage, positioning the Sultan as the Caliph of all Muslims. The Hijaz railway construction scene is epic, stretching through the desert, connecting Damascus to the holy cities of Mecca and Medina. Workers and pilgrims witness this engineering marvel. The railway serves both practical and symbolic purposes, facilitating the Hajj pilgrimage while demonstrating Ottoman technological capability and commitment to serving the Muslim world. WOC-funded donations support the railway's construction. This is presented as a pan-Islamic project, with Muslims from across the world contributing. The mood is one of religious solidarity and modern ambition combined. Pan-Islamism outreach scenes show the Ottoman Sultan positioning himself as leader of Muslims worldwide, reaching beyond the empire's borders to gain support and legitimacy. This global Islamic connection is emphasized as a counter to European imperialism. The Young Turk Revolution opposition coalitions form against Sultan Abdülhamid II. Diverse groups, liberal constitutionalists, Turkish nationalists, Arab reformers, military officers, debate strategy, united by opposition to autocracy even if they disagree on what should replace it. The Committee of Union and Progress, CUP, is formed by medical students and military officers. These young activists, educated in modern schools, demand constitutional government and reform. Military influence grows within the CUP as officers trained in modern warfare join the movement. Their planning becomes more organized, more serious, more capable of actual revolution. In 1908, the Young Turks Revolution erupts. Street celebrations fill Ottoman cities as crowds cheer the restoration of the constitution. This is a moment of genuine hope and triumph. The people have forced the Sultan to restore parliamentary government. Slogans proclaiming liberty, equality, fraternity, justice are symbolized visually, echoing the French Revolution. Activists celebrate what they believe is a new era for the Ottoman Empire. Parliament is restored and elections are held. Voters participate in choosing representatives. This is a hopeful moment as constitutional government returns. From hope to authoritarianism, but the hope fades quickly. Power begins centralizing again as CUP leaders assert control. The revolution that promised democracy becomes increasingly authoritarian. The law of strikes is enforced, silencing workers who attempt to organize. Factory and dock strikes are broken up by force. The revolutionary government proves hostile to labor movements. Press control and propaganda intensify. Editors are pressured to support the government line. The media becomes a tool of state power rather than a check on it. Military disasters. The Tripolitan War sees the loss of Libya to Italy in 1911. North African territory that had been Ottoman for centuries is lost, and Ottoman soldiers retreat in defeat. The Balkan Wars of 1912–13 are catastrophic. A map shows the empire shrinking dramatically as nearly all remaining European territories are lost. The population is displaced, with hundreds of thousands of Muslim refugees fleeing to Anatolia. Overcrowded Anatolian towns struggle to absorb these refugees. Locals assist as best they can, but the humanitarian strain is enormous. These losses radicalize Ottoman politics and fuel nationalist rhetoric. The rise of the three pashas, Talat, Enver, and Cemal, marks a shift to military dictatorship under the cover of constitutional government. These leaders dominate Ottoman politics as World War I approaches. The Fatal Alliance, an Ottoman-German alliance, is signed, with German officers present at the ceremony. This alliance will prove fateful, drawing the Ottoman Empire into World War I on the side of the Central Powers. The outbreak of World War I sees Ottoman soldiers mobilizing on multiple fronts against Russia in the Caucasus, against Britain in Mesopotamia and Palestine, defending the Dardanelles against Allied invasion. Wartime suffering. Civilian suffering becomes severe. Famine and displacement affect populations across the empire. Families struggle to survive as resources are diverted to the war effort and supply chains collapse. Forced marches of Armenian civilians are implied respectfully in scenes showing people moving under guard. This represents one of the darkest chapters, the Armenian genocide, in which over 1 million Armenians perished through massacres and death marches. The suffering of these civilians must be acknowledged as one of history's great crimes. Yet there are also moments of Ottoman military success. At Gallipoli, Mustafa Kemal leads troops in a determined defense that defeats the Allied invasion. Ottoman soldiers fight with courage and determination, winning one of the war's most famous defensive victories. The Arab Revolt. The Arab Revolt begins with Sharif Hussein's forces rising against Ottoman rule. Arab soldiers, promised independence by the British, fight alongside Allied forces against the Ottoman army. British-Arab correspondence is implied in diplomatic scenes, the promises of independence and Arab sovereignty that motivated the revolt, promises that would later be betrayed. The Balfour Declaration symbolism scene shows competing promises being made, Britain promising both an Arab kingdom and a Jewish homeland in Palestine. The uncertain future of the region is visualized through these contradictory commitments. Secret agreements. The Sykes-Picot map division scene is ominous. European powers, Britain and France, divide Ottoman Arab territories between themselves in secret, drawing arbitrary borders that ignore local populations, historical boundaries, and earlier promises to Arab allies. Public populations remain unaware of these diplomatic deals. Daily life continues as civilians go about normal routines, not knowing that their futures are being decided in distant capitals. Ottoman surrender. German support weakens as the Central Powers collapse. Empty supply depots show the Ottoman Empire abandoned by its ally. The armistice announcement in 1918 is posted publicly. Ottoman citizens read in silence, the mood somber. The empire has been defeated after 4 years of devastating war. Allied troops enter strategic points across the empire. The occupation begins, with European forces controlling Constantinople itself, along with other key territories. The war-weary population shows exhausted faces. Hundreds of thousands have died, the economy is shattered, and the empire's future is uncertain. International decisions. The San Remo Conference depicts Allied leaders deciding the fate of Ottoman territories. The Ottoman government is not even meaningfully consulted about the future of its own lands. The Treaty of Sèvres is imposed in 1920, a harsh treaty that dismantles the Ottoman Empire almost entirely, leaving only a small territory in Anatolia under nominal Ottoman sovereignty. Greece is given significant Anatolian territory, Armenia is recognized as independent, Kurdistan is promised autonomy, and the Arab provinces are formalized as European mandates. Mandates are established in Syria, French, Iraq, British, and Palestine, British. European administrators arrive to govern these territories as colonial possessions thinly disguised as temporary guardianships. The Turkish national movement. But in Anatolia, resistance is forming. Mustafa Kemal, the hero of Gallipoli, emerges as the organizing figure of a nationalist movement that rejects the Treaty of Sèvres and foreign occupation. Nationalist meetings in Anatolian towns show civilians becoming politically engaged. This is no longer about preserving the Ottoman Empire, this is about creating something new, a Turkish nation-state. The resistance movement gains support as volunteers gather. Ottoman officers and soldiers who refuse to accept defeat organize themselves into a national army. The Turkish War of Independence sees these fighters advancing against Greek forces in western Anatolia, against French forces in the south, and against Armenian forces in the east. Determined music underscores their resolve. The new order. The Treaty of Lausanne in 1923 achieves international recognition for the new Turkish state on terms far more favorable than Sèvres. Diplomats from around the world acknowledge Turkish sovereignty. This is a hopeful moment. A defeated empire has transformed into a recognized nation-state. The abolition of the Ottoman Sultanate is formalized. Citizens witness the end of an era as the last Ottoman Sultan leaves Constantinople in exile. The empire that had existed for over 600 years is officially dissolved. In a political vacuum after the Sultan's departure, new leaders emerge. Mustafa Kemal becomes the first president of the Republic of Turkey, implementing radical reforms that westernize and secularize the country. Symbolic scenes show Ottoman imperial imagery fading, the calligraphy, the Sultan's chura, the symbols of dynastic rule, all being replaced by the symbols of the new Turkish Republic. The shaped Middle East. The final scene shows the modern Middle East shaped by Ottoman legacy. The borders drawn by European powers, the ethnic and religious tensions created by arbitrary divisions, the memories of Ottoman governance, all continue to influence the region today. In multi-religious city quarters at early morning, we see the persistence of coexistence, even as the political structures have changed. Ottoman architectural heritage remains, a reminder of the empire's long presence. Final reflection. The fall of the Ottoman Empire reshaped the entire Middle East and Balkans. Borders were redrawn, populations were displaced, new nations were created, and old certainties disappeared. The conflicts and challenges of today's Middle East, from Kurdish aspirations to Palestinian-Israeli tensions to sectarian divisions, all have roots in how the Ottoman Empire fell and how European powers filled the vacuum it left behind. Understanding this history helps us understand our present world. The Ottoman Empire's 6 centuries of rule left deep marks on the cultures, languages, legal systems, and identities of millions of people across 3 continents. Its collapse was not merely the end of one empire but the beginning of a new and turbulent era whose consequences we still live with today. Thank you for watching History in the Shadows. If you found this exploration of the Ottoman Empire's fall compelling, please subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications for more deep dives into history's pivotal moments. If you're on Facebook, follow our page and share this video. Leave a comment below telling us what aspect of Ottoman history you'd like us to explore next. Until next time, keep uncovering the shadows of history.